In the echoing halls of Brookridge High School, the chaos of morning routine played out in its usual symphony: slamming lockers, fragments of teenage gossip, sneakers squeaking against polished linoleum floors. Amid the crowd moved 15-year-old Daniel Tran, slim-framed, soft-spoken, and forgettable at first glance. His glasses were a bit too large for his narrow face, often sliding down his nose as he maneuvered through the morning throng, clutching a weathered calculus book like a lifeline. Daniel had only been at Brookridge for 2 months. His mother, Dr. Lean Tran, had taken a position as a tenured mathematics professor at the local university, uprooting their lives from the southern stretch of San Diego. Back home, Daniel had a reputation, though not one he advertised. Here, he was just the new kid, the quiet math genius. And, unfortunately, an easy target. He wasn't built like the athletes, nor loud enough to blend with the extroverts. What people saw was a bookish, soft-spoken boy who rarely spoke unless called on and aced every math exam without effort. What they didn't see was the years of MMA training 6 days a week, rain or shine, under the watchful eye of his grandfather, a former Olympic Taekwondo competitor. They didn't see the state titles tucked away in a box in his closet, or the fights he chose not to finish because his mother had begged him to leave that part of his life behind. But the quiet ones always seemed to draw attention, and Daniel had drawn the worst kind. At the center of that attention was Brent Maddox, a junior linebacker with the swagger of someone who'd never been told no. His father was on the school board, his sneakers cost more than Daniel's monthly rent, and his posse, Connor Blake and Isaiah Moore, followed him like sharks scenting blood. Daniel first met Brent's version of attention the day he answered a problem on the whiteboard before the teacher could finish writing it. It was harmless, but it drew chuckles and praise from classmates, and that was enough to paint a target on his back. Brent, who struggled through algebra with the subtlety of a bulldozer, didn't take kindly to the idea of being outshined, especially by someone who didn't look or act like competition. By week 2, Daniel's locker had been stuffed with old banana peels. By week 3, a missing homework sheet had been forged in his name. And by the start of month 2, things escalated to hall, accidents, shoulder checks, tripped feet, lunch trays mysteriously upturned in his lap. Daniel endured it all quietly, with the kind of patience only a martial artist trained to endure grueling hours of discipline could know. Control your breath, and you control your body, his grandfather used to say. Control your body, and you'll never lose control of a situation. But even patience has limits. It was a Thursday when the dam began to crack. Daniel was walking to his third-period physics class when a familiar voice echoed behind him. "Well, if it isn't Professor Pi himself," Brent drawled. "What's the square root of loser?" The laughter that followed was immediate. Connor flanked Daniel's left, Isaiah to his right, a well-practiced triangle of intimidation. Daniel kept walking. "Hey," I asked a question. Brent's hand landed heavily on his shoulder, halting him mid-step. Daniel tensed, resisting the impulse to pivot. "I have class," he said softly. "Class can wait." Brent leaned in, sneering. "You think you're better than the rest of us just because you can count to infinity?" "It's just numbers," Daniel murmured, eyes on the tile floor. "Maybe we should test your other skills," Connor chimed in, grabbing Daniel's backpack and unzipping it. "Let's see what genius eats for lunch." "Give it back," Daniel said. Isaiah dumped the contents onto the floor. Books. A protein bar. A folded paper crane, his sister's gift. "Oops," Isaiah grinned. Clumsy hands. A crowd had started to gather. No teachers. Just students with phones and popcorn expressions. Daniel bent down slowly, gathering his things. But when Isaiah stepped on the paper crane, grinding it under his heel, something shifted. He rose. He didn't shout, didn't threaten. Just stood, calmly, and looked Brent square in the eye for the first time. I said, "Give it back." A beat passed. Then Brent shoved him. Daniel didn't move. So Brent shoved harder, this time with 2 hands. Daniel took a single step back, his stance steady, shoulders squared. He didn't look angry. He looked centered. "What's wrong?" Brent laughed. "Finally grew a backbone?" "No," Daniel said quietly. "I just remembered who I am." Without waiting for a response, Brent lunged, clumsy, full of rage and overconfidence. The punch came wide and telegraphed. Daniel didn't flinch. He slipped the strike like mist, pivoting with trained precision. Brent stumbled forward, off balance. "Try again," Daniel said, almost bored. The second attempt came faster, more desperate. Daniel ducked low, twisted Brent's arm behind him in a simple joint lock and release just before pain would turn to damage. Brent stumbled back, blinking. Connor and Isaiah closed in. 3 moves. That's all it took. A wrist grab reversed. A shoulder roll. A sweep. Suddenly, the two were on the ground, gasping. Their smugness evaporated into open-mouthed disbelief. Silence. No cheers. No gasps. Just stunned awe. Daniel stood in the center of the hallway, book still on the floor, but not a hair out of place. What are you? Brent croaked, holding his arm. Daniel looked at him with that same calm that made his math work flawless. Someone who's tired of pretending to be weak. The crowd parted as he walked away, pausing only to pick up his crushed paper crane. He unfolded it gently, smoothing the creases. Then he vanished around the corner like a shadow rejoining the quiet. That weekend, videos surfaced. Old tournament clips. Junior MMA state champion. 3 years in a row. San Diego circuit. Nicknamed the Scholar. Headlines of his regional dominance resurfaced on school group chats. On Monday, the halls were different. No one bumped into him. No one called him names. Some nodded respectfully. Some just stepped aside. Even teachers smiled differently now. In calculus, Ms. Reardon praised him not just for his speed but his grace. In gym, Coach Hastings asked to speak with him after class. I saw the video, the coach said, arms crossed but tone gentle. I've got a slot on the wrestling team if you want it. Daniel smiled politely. I'll think about it. At lunch, he sat alone, at first. Then, unexpectedly, Brent sat across from him. No entourage. No swagger. Mind if I join? Daniel hesitated. Free country. Brent exhaled. Look. I was a jerk. No excuses. Just, I didn't know. You didn't care, Daniel corrected. Brent nodded slowly. You're right. But I do now. They ate in silence. Brent didn't push. The next week, Daniel agreed to help the wrestling team prep for state. His presence changed everything. Not with brute force, but with discipline, calmness, precision. And then came the moment that sealed his legacy. A freshman, scrawny and wide-eyed, was being cornered by 2 seniors near the vending machine. Daniel started walking toward them, but another figure beat him to it. Brent, is there a problem here? He asked, standing between the bullies and the boy. They backed off. No confrontation. No threats. Just presence. Later, as Daniel passed Brent in the hallway, they exchanged a small nod. It was done. That year, Brookridge High became different. Not because Daniel beat someone up, but because he didn't. Because he showed what control looked like. What quiet power truly was. He still aced every math test. Still wore those oversized glasses. Still folded paper cranes. But now, when he walked the halls, he didn't walk alone. And no one ever stepped on his shadow again.